All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started now. I've had a lot of people ask me before, have you ever seen Audience Hall? And the answer is, done lots of videos on it in the past, years ago. Did radio shows on it, where I mentioned it. Showed just how obvious and how ridiculous it really is that any person would sit up between two giant fangs on a chair with two giant round windows with a long, carpet that goes to the front like it's not a snake. Okay. Well, I showed everybody, if you look at the sculpture that's behind it, that's supposed to be, you know what, let me show you what the definition of that is. Yeah, I want to make sure I get all the definitions right. The resurrection from Fassini, the resurrection is an 800 quintal, 8 metric ton bronze copper alloy sculpture by Persil Fassini in the Paul VI Audience Hall in Rome, intended to capture the anguish of 20th century mankind living under the threat of nuclear war. The resurrection depicts, look at this, Jesus rising from a nuclear crater in the Garden of Gethsemane. Okay, so this is not me speculating. This is not my opinion. This is what it is. So let's just break it down. Okay, so now let's go back here. Okay, so I've shown people this many, many times in many old videos. We've looked at, Audience Hall, and I've shown everybody just the obviousness of it being a serpent, that this is an eye over here. You know what? Let me just enlarge it. There we go. You know what? I'll swap out that image. I'll just go buy it from Getty since I used it. I'll just go purchase it. So anyway, so here is the eye right here of the serpent, and just look at the work that's done on the glass. Here is another eye, obviously, and then here is the open mouth of a serpent, and here are the fangs. Here's a fang right here, and here's a fang right here, and the Pope sits right there in the middle. Okay, so is it arguable that the Pope sits in the mouth of a serpent? It's not arguable. It's not arguable that I've shown you the Vatican is a giant serpent wearing a crown. That's not arguable. Okay, this is not arguable. So there you go. There is the sculpture, the resurrection from Fassini, and this is right where the Pope sits, and this is the mouth of a serpent with serpent fangs, and these are the eyes. And so he sits in the mouth of the serpent. That is a fact. Okay, now get ready because this is where things are going to get really, wow, this is what I showed people a long time ago, but now it's come together with Obama, and I was like, oh my Lord, this is fascinating. Now, y'all remember I told you, I showed you the presidential portrait. We're going to look at it again. Barack Obama, let me ask you this. Why is Barack Obama have a giant reptile coming off the side of his head in the presidential portrait? Why? Why did Barack Obama go on a program called The View, which has a giant V, and tell everybody when Whoopi Goldberg said, who are we? What are we? Why did Barack Obama say, well, what's still true today is we all have a reptilian part of our brain? I mean, who are we? What are we? Was the question. And Barack Obama's answer was, well, what is still true today is we all have a reptilian part of our brain. And that just happens to be exactly what's in the presidential portrait. We're going to get to that. The Lord just let me tie it together to the Bible. He let me tie it together to Isaiah. And my jaw just hit the floor. I was like, oh, my Lord. There's a giant billboard above my house of a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and it says, rethink extinct. Now I know why. Here we go. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Here is the image of what's supposed to be Christ coming out of the Garden of Gethsemane. Okay, well, I've shown people a long time ago. This is a reptile. This is a reptile. There is no doubt about it. I've taken a closer look, and it's actually got a head in its mouth. I've sat here for hours looking at it. I've drawn it in several times. There is no doubt about it. It is a giant reptile coming up out of the pit. And so now I'm going to draw it in for you. It's just should be very obvious. I wanted to show it to you first with no drawing. I haven't drawn a thing on that picture. Nothing. I'm just showing you how obvious this is. That's the head of a reptile. There's the eye. There's the nose. There's the mouth. There's the teeth. There's something right here in the head, right in the mouth, because if you extend this out, it doesn't quite make sense. And so what I did was I enlarged it to a very large scale, and it's got like a head in its mouth, like a human head. And so this is the profile of a reptile. It becomes several other things, as most of their artwork does. Their artwork, the shadows change depending on your disposition or your orientation to the piece of art. It's the same as my artwork that's in that other room. If you're looking at one part, you see one thing. If you move over this way, you see something else. Okay, and so that's the way they did it, and that's the way the Lord let me orchestrate my own artwork before I got saved so I would understand the way they do things. It's like kind of like being in the mafia and then turning state's evidence on the mafia. It's kind of what I'm doing. I'm just turning it on Satan. So anyway, I used to be part of that system. I'm no longer part of it. Okay, so here is the head of a reptile. Very obviously the eye right here, the mouth right here, the bottom jaw right here, the neck right here, and then here's the wing going out. This is the wing. Look at the movement. Follow the lines. See the lines? Look at the lines. Follow the movement. Now, folks, for those of y'all that don't know anything about art, art has what's called intent. What did the artist intend to do? It has what's called movement. Art has movement. So in art, there's certain aspects of art that if you know about art, you'll go, well, wait a minute. The movement of that thing shows directional. That's how I was able to discern the US currency, because the movement of the trees on the $10 bill was way wrong, totally wrong. I was like, that's not a tree. It's not a tree. The movement's the wrong direction. The wind was blowing from the wrong direction, blowing two directions at the same time. Impossible. So here's the movement. Let me show you the movement. Let's look. I want you to look at this right here. Look at the movement. Look at the movement. Look at the movement. Movement, movement, movement. Okay, so now let's take a look right here. That is absolutely a reptile. It's a dinosaur head. And it turns into a lot more. It's really fascinating. I got to give it to the artist. He's good at what he does, but it's really evil. So now we have just, the plain image. Now let me just augment the image for you so you can see just how obvious this is. So we'll click the back button. And we're going to tie all this to Barack Obama. We're going to tie all this to a hieroglyph that's 1,300 years before Christ. We're just going to tie it all together. Okay, so let's go here and let's just look at the first image as I started drawing it in, and there you go. Now you can see the reptile very clearly. And you could get distracted by looking at this face right here. But what's really odd is now I see a sheep. There's definitely a dead sheep. So there's a dead sheep here. I already see it. Its mouth is open. It's done with this darker shade right here. I see it right there. No doubt about it. I'll draw that in later. But here is the reptile right here, and there's this going in its mouth. Looks like the head of a person. And so anyway, so this is the head of a reptile. There's no doubt about it. And this all belongs to the reptile. And then this is very interesting, the way this this movement comes over and turns into hands. It looks like a skeleton holding on to his arm in order to attach that. but it also doubles. There's a line right here. There's a dark line, and it doubles as going behind him as a wing. That is definitely a wing. So we're going to go ahead and back out. I'm going to show you. Now we're going to just start coloring it all in. So, okay, just like I did the hieroglyph. So let's see. I will go here first, and because these were larger images, here we go. I will click enlarge, view in full size. There you go. And then I'll start walking it back a little bit. There you go. That's a reptile, folks. That is a giant, it's a dinosaur. It's, arguably I'd say raptor. And this is going to get very interesting because this shows this creature coming out of the pit. But it's a dinosaur, but it's got Jesus on the side of its neck. Sorry, let me go back down here. Don't know what happened. Let me see. There we go. So it's got Jesus on the side of its neck. And so one direction you're supposed to be looking at Jesus, but no, that's a dinosaur. No doubt about it. And there you go. So if you just look at the eye right here, there's the eye, and then there's, this dark area, which is very obvious on other dinosaurs like T-Rexes and raptors. They have that sunken area, the eyebrow and the mouth. And then this is, again, like I said, this is a head in the mouth. And so then we come down and I just colored it all green, but I'm going to back it out a little bit and I'm going to show you some of the artist's intent in this thing. It's really fascinating. So now we have a really big problem. We have a guy that claims to speak to God. His name's the Pope. They calls himself the Pope, the Vicar of Christ. The word Vicar of Christ, by the way, means replacement of Christ. So, that's he's supposed to be the mouthpiece for Christ. He's a mouthpiece for the devil. He's a mouthpiece for the serpent. That's why he stands in a big building that's a serpent, and he has a guy singing songs to Lucifer about dawning his own creation. Because it's true. If you read Genesis 1 and you know what you're reading, and Elohim said, let us create man in our own vain show, which they did. And so anyway, so here we go. So now let's kind of back out again and let me give you another perspective. Here you go. And let me just, use a little bit of color and show you some very odd things. Remember they worship the Virgin. Okay, so now let's take a look. Wow, there's your reptile. Now I put a little dark green in here to show the movement and to show that this is a wing going out. No doubt about it. That's why the movement goes this direction. That's a wing. This is a wing going out. And this is a serpent like a dinosaur, very raptor-like, coming out of the pit. Why? Someone tell me, why is the Vatican a giant snake wearing a crown? Why is the largest altar in the world that is the mouth of the serpent? Why is it a dead sheep? Why is the dead sheep a female vagina? Why are all God's angels on that same altar melting into semen, running down the side of the throne, which is a black penis? Can someone tell me why? I know why. Same reason I know why what this is. That is a giant reptile coming out of the pit. Well, let's start matching up reptile stuff now. So there's no question that in the audience hall now, we have a problem. We have a very large problem for the entire world. This is a problem for over 2 billion people that are Catholic. You know what? Let's do a Google search and let's find out how many Catholics, how, sorry, I can't see because of a glare. are there? How many Catholics are there? There's 1.2 billion Roman Catholics in the world, according to Vatican figures. More than 40% of the world's Catholics live in Latin America, but Africa has seen the biggest growth in Catholics. Okay. So I read there's over 2 billion before, but right now we're looking at 1.2 billion people. So 1.2 billion people have a really big problem because unless they know or they've been told that the guy that's their leader sits in front of a statue that's a giant reptile coming out of the pit with the face of Jesus on the side. By the way, this is where the reptile turns more to a dragon and it has the hair of a female because the face of what's supposed to be Christ disappears from the angle. So when you look at it from another, you're over here, you see the reptile. You go over here, and you see that it changes, and it changes to more of a dragon with hair, female. They worship the Virgin. Let me show you something very disturbing about this thing. Okay, so here is the reptile. There's the wing. That's definitely a wing. And yep, there it is. They're coming out of the pit. These look like a bunch of skulls stacked on top of each other. And here's all this, whatever you want to call it, spirit. I would say that's just evil energy, spiritual, this coming out of the pit, the death coming out of the pit. And this is the resurrection of their Messiah. That's why they have Jesus on. Look, why do you think they have Jesus on the face? Look, they have the face of Jesus right here, but it's a reptile. Now, I noticed something very disturbing right here when I was looking at the artwork. I was like, wait a minute, that's done with intent. So let's take a very close look. Well, let's make sure we got this right. That is the Pope. There is no arguing with who is sitting in this chair in front of a giant reptile coming out of the pit. It's got wings. Yep. And the other wings made in the negative space. There it is. Just follow the lines. There's the wing in the negative space. There's the other wing. There's the reptile. Well, you know what's really interesting? There's a scripture called Isaiah 14 that talks about Lucifer being cast down. And let me show you something in that same scripture. Okay, so let me show you what's going on in Isaiah 14. For how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Okay, so we all know that Lucifer cast down to hell. And let me show you something here in Isaiah. And I'm just going to jump around. Y'all can read the whole scripture for yourself. But prepare a slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the whole world with cities. Because they're the ones that have populated the whole place. The underground race has populated the entire thing, the host body system. Now, rejoice thou not when whole Philistina, okay, rejoice not thou, whole Philistina, because of the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. Wow. Let me show you something really odd about that thing we just looked at. Okay, one second. Okay. Okay, so remember this sculpture that's a giant reptile coming out of the pit with wings. It's called the resurrection, huh? And let's look at what it's made out of. It's made out of, let's see, it's made out of a bronze copper alloy, okay? And I think that's going to be very important in just a moment. So watch this. So let me show you what that has to do with. Let's open up eSword. Okay, we're going now we're in eSword. We're going to break down the Bible. I always come with the Word of God. Always. Always with the Word. Okay, so here we go. So out of the serpent's root. Okay, well, let's look at that. Okay, it means from, out of, in many senses. A part, hence a musical chord. Do y'all remember the lady that sent me the card that, by the way, thank you for the continued cards. I appreciate it. That says to strike just a little note. And that's when the Lord showed me that Cain, in Genesis 4, Cain means to strike a note. It's another voice you're hearing. There's two voices in your head until you get converted. Then you get to hear from the king. But until then, you're conflicted. You have a dualistic nature, and you have one side telling you to do one thing, one side telling you to do something else, and you're at odds with yourself, and you're conflicted. Until you're made whole, you're born again of a new spirit, and you're made whole. Then you can enter through that narrow door, because you can't do it otherwise. Because you're like a twin. Imagine two people side by side trying to go through a narrow door. You can't do it. You got to be made one to go through the door. Okay, now watch. For out of the serpent's root. Okay, so y'all know what the word main is? It comes from mania, like the mother of the mains. I don't know how many people know your vocabulary, but the word mania, the root main, is demons. Go look it up. So anyway, so a musical chord, main, let's walk it back, from or out of in many senses. So out of the serpent's root, here's the word root. It means root from the bottom deep heel root, and then we'll walk it back to the origin of the word. It means to root, that is to strike into the soil, okay, to cause to take root. And then we'll look at the serpent, a snake from its hiss. But look at this word, nakash. Oh my gosh. Do y'all know where that word comes from? Do y'all know where the first place you see that word is in the Bible? I do. Genesis 3. I tried to show everybody a long time ago, guys. This is not some snake that crawls around on the ground. This is a nakash. This is a being, but it's called a nakash because of the way it lisps when it speaks. You know, if you ever watch the Jungle Book, there's Ka, the snake, that says, "Say a delicious man cub." That kind of speak. Okay, so just to prove it, Genesis 3 real quick. And the Lord God had made, let's see, now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field. So let's highlight the word serpent. Here we go. Serpent, boom. What is it? It's Nakash. See right there. Snake from its hiss, Nakash. Okay, let's go back. Now we'll go back to Isaiah. We'll go back to Isaiah 14 and we'll scroll down to verse 29 and we'll go back to out of the serpent's root. Okay, so look, here we go. Oh, there it is, Nakash. It's the same thing. Look, it's from this root word right here, 5172. Properly to hisses, look at this. Whisper a magic spell. Does anybody know a snake that can whisper a magic spell? It says right here in the fall of Lucifer that rejoice not thou whole of Philistina. You know who a Philistine was? Goliath. Goliath was a Philistine. Remember, David said, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should challenge the armies of the living God?" And David had the chutzpah to step up and take on Goliath. Philistines. Okay, so rejoice not, thou whole of Philistia, because of the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root, and here it is, right here again, to whisper a magic spell, divine enchanter, to learn by experience. Oh, like the fall. Shall come forth a cockatrice. Okay, cockatrice, to extrude a viper, as thrusting out the tongue that is hissing, adder, cockatrice, a very venomous snake. A cockatrice, and his fruit shall be, look, okay, so shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit literally or figuratively, and it means to bear fruit, to bring forth young, to be fruitful, to grow, to increase. Like in Genesis, go forth and multiply, be fruitful and multiply. To bear fruit, literally or figuratively, to bear, to bring forth, to cause, to be, to make. Okay, now here's where you got to really, really, really pay attention. Shall bring forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. Okay, look at this. A seraph. Oh my gosh, y'all know what a seraph is. I do. A seraph is an angel. There's been some debate whether or not Lucifer was a seraph or a cherubim, but I'll show you one of the best ways to understand it that I can explain. But it says, shall bring forth a fiery flying serpent. Well, when we look at the word, we'll look at this word first, and I will make it blue. That is burning. Well, aren't God's angels messengers of burning, flaming fire? They are. Burning, that is figuratively poisonous serpent, specifically a seraph or symbolic creature from their, read it for yourself, copper color. Let's get a really cool color on that. Let's do copper. There we go. From their copper color, okay? So shall bring forth his fruit, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. So a poisonous serpent, a seraph, and it's also because of their copper color, fiery serpent seraph. Okay, back to, they made that sculpture out of what? Sorry. They made it out of what? Bronze, copper, alloy. That's not some mistake. That is exactly the color of the seraph that's coming out of the pit. There you go. From the serpent's root. So there it is. And I will find a better color for it right now. I think I will go with this. There you go. From their copper color. Wow. And then let's go to 54. To cover with wings or obscurity. Okay, so this is very, 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 very strange that a guy that claims to be speaking to God, by the way, their God is the God of this world. That's Satan. The Lord God is not the God of this world. That's why he specifically told us and said, the prince of this world approaches, but he has nothing in me. That's why the Lord always says, I am come into this world, that those which see not might see. So now I've taken this and I've tied it to Isaiah 14. But keep watching, because we're going to continue to tie it all up and tie it together. Okay, so let me ask you this. Again, is that Jesus coming out of the pit, or is that a serpent-like creature with wings made out of bronze coming out of the pit? You tell me. Is that supposed to really be Jesus coming out of the pit, or coming up? Because, you know what, let's just read what they say it is. It's supposed to be, it's intended to be, to capture the anguish of 20th century mankind living under the threat of nuclear war. That's what it's supposed to be. Do you believe that that's what that is? Now let's look at it. Okay, it's made out of copper. I know that I just read right here that the fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent, a burning, that is figuratively poisonous serpent, specifically a seraph, which is from the Bible, from their copper color, fiery serpent. I know I'm going over this repetitively, but I'm doing it on purpose, because you need to understand this is no joke. This is not some, this is no joke. This is no accident. You're looking at a sculpture that was made out of bronze and copper for a reason, because it represents a fiery flying serpent coming up from the root out. That's what you're looking at. And you're looking at the mouthpiece right there that is demonically possessed, that leads 1.2 billion people straight to the pit of hell. And I stand against him. So there it is. There's your, now I want you to pay close attention. Now when you look at it this direction, it's changed a little bit, hasn't it? Now if I take it and I draw it in, which I will later, it looks like a little bit more of just like a dragon, but it's got hair like a woman. See it? So don't see how the face disappears? So I'll put my cursor over the eyes and nose, and just look at the hair like a woman. So it's like a female dragon with wings coming up out of the pit. Well, guys, make sure you stay tuned, because you're going to see some stuff, more stuff that no one's ever seen. And we're going to tie this together to things that are impossible. So there it is. There's a dragon coming flying, a fiery flying serpent coming up out of the pit, out of the root, and it's coming up with all this evilness with it. Okay, now let me show you something very odd I noticed. While I enlarged this to draw on the face and stuff, to draw on those lines, I noticed something very odd. I was like, wow, that's bizarre. They put this very sheer metal, like it's some kind of a sheet, like very sheer covering. And I looked at it and I was like, wow, that's very disturbing. So let me show you what that was. It was on this image right here. And I'm going to enlarge this image. I have not done one thing to this image. Can somebody tell me something that's very wrong with his crotch? I can tell you right now something that's very wrong with his crotch. They made it like a vagina. That's what's wrong with it. And it also, if I cut it off right here, it makes a V. You see the V right here? This is with extreme intent. I don't have any drawing on this. I have no drawing on this whatsoever. None. So why would you make these lines so obvious if you're an artist? If this is supposed to be Jesus, well, that just really doesn't look like he has any male member or genitalia whatsoever. It looks more like he's got a vagina. Because when you're breeding with this thing right here, that's what the female host body system was all about. That's why, again, the Vatican, and I should probably throw it in right now just so y'all see it. That's why the Vatican is a giant serpent. Hopefully I have it in this folder. If I don't, I'll just simply pause it. Well, here we go. Let's look at the whole Vatican complex from above. There it is right there. But let's look at the whole thing from above. Let's see. Oh, look. Look. Oh, so that's not a serpent's tongue? This is not someone trying to tell me that's not a serpent? There's the eye, here's the nose. What a convenient sidewalk to go to the halls of government. Wow. And what's really fascinating is facing the other direction, it's a dragon. And here's a keyhole. Here's a keyhole. The cross has gone in and turned upside down because we all got turned into the serpent. There is a really great map. You can see what an interesting sidewalk to put right in front of a perfect place for the mouth of the serpent. Wow, that's good. So this is done with intent. Even the architecture, everything laid out. They had to shoot grades. They had to get guys out there with their sticks and their tapes, and they had to measure it, and they had to do all that stuff. And the Lord God's the one that told me, Jonathan, I want you to come in at a 45-degree angle. I want to show you something. And now it has been proven right in front of your face. The Vatican's a serpent. So now the Vatican's a serpent. The audience hall is a giant snake. The Pope is standing in the mouth of the snake, and he is giving his speeches right in front of a fiery flying serpent coming up out of the pit. This is just not arguable. Now, let me show you one more picture where it's been colored in. So then we're going to tie this to today and what's going on right now, because I'm going to tie this together to a movie that just came out. That's just letting you know how bad this is going to get. Just keep watching. Okay, here you go. So let's just color it in. Give them the colors. There you go. There's your fiery flying serpent coming out of the pit. No doubt about it. Isaiah 14. Rejoice not, thou whole Philistina, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. And the firstborn of the poor shall feed, and the needy lie down in safety. And I will kill thy root with famine, and slay thy remnant. Howl, O gate, cry, O city, thou whole Philistina art dissolved. For thou shalt come from the north a smoke, and none shall be alone in his appointed times. What shall one then answer the messengers of the nation, that the Lord hath founded Zion, and the poor of his people shall trust in it? So he's about to smite all this. The Lord God's about to smite everything I'm showing you. He's about ready to smite and tear it down. But the Antichrist gets his 42 months, and let's go to that right now. So let's see. Let me drop this one down a little bit. And then let's have a good look at the hieroglyph of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. I've gone and I've redrawn. The Lord told me I want you to redraw it. It was a lot of work. I really didn't want to do it, to be honest. I was like, really? That's an insane amount of work to go over a lot of these images and so I redid these images right here. Starting here, I took these images and I redid them. So let me just show you what the result is. Okay, so I'm going to show you this image first. You know what? Let's go back. Let me show you the entirety of the cumulative sum of the entire hieroglyph. I think is important for you to see real quick. because we're going to get to Barack Obama in just a minute, because Barack Obama is part of this whole hieroglyph. I'm like, that's insane. But you can't argue the data points. So let's stick with the data. So I'm going to just enlarge this. And there is a guy trapped in hell right here. The legs make flames, the way the cuts in the limestone or whatever they used. Now, here's a DNA strand. I always wondered, why does it go down underneath the guy that's in flames? I always wondered that. How come this DNA strand goes up and it goes onto the serpent? It's onto the serpent. Look where it goes. It goes to the crotch of the little girl that's standing in the lap of the queen. So the serpent's eye is the womb of this little girl. What's really fascinating is what's standing behind her. Now, the DNA goes down, the root goes down to hell. So the root of the DNA goes down to hell. Here is a guy that's trapped in hell, burning in flames, and here is this girl that's being penetrated, that's on her knees, that the Lord told me redraw all of it. I was like, all right, so I'm going to go over right now. Now we're going to go over the hieroglyph. I showed you audience hall. It is absolutely a dinosaur. It is absolutely something like a raptor, a dragon. Call it what you want. But you know what? Somebody made a comment on my last video. Brilliant find. I got to give all credit to the person that left the comment. I went and vetted the comment. When someone leaves a comment and it's like, no way, I go vet it. I went and vetted it. It's true. Let me show you something. Origins of the word dinosaur. What is the origin of the word dinosaur? I asked many people this question, and surprisingly, most people don't know. One of those little known dinosaur facts is that the word dinosaur is a relatively new word in the English language. The word dinosaur literally means terrible, powerful, wondrous lizards. The word became popular after biologist and paleontologist Sir Richard Owen coined the term dinosauria in what? What? I went to A&M for geology. I never learned any of this because they don't teach it to you. We've been lied to about everything. Just watch. Okay. The word dinosaur derives from two Greek words, dinos, terrible, powerful, wondrous, and sauros, lizard. Like Tyrannosaurus, like Barack Obama's presidential portrait, which we're going to revisit, which I redid again. And wow. Yeah. Tyrannosaurus rex means tyrant, lizard, king. Don't you find it weird? Don't you find it weird that the word dinosaur didn't even come about till 1841? So what did they call dinosaurs before that? So what would a person prior to 1841 call a giant, powerful, wondrous lizard if they saw one? The answer to that question is really quite obvious if we look back into the historical record for evidence of giant, powerful, wondrous lizards. Can you guess? Yes, I can guess. So here we go. Let's see. There are some theories that have been promoted as dinosaur facts. Many people have been taught, like Jonathan, as a fact that dinosaurs died off millions of years ago when a meteor hit the Earth, but can this really be proven? I was taught along with just about everybody else about the theory, but there is evidence, a lot of it, that indicates dinosaurs and man have always existed together. After my 10 years of study on the issue, I'm fully convinced that dinosaurs have always existed with man. Okay, now listen, I went and I did some extensive research, and there are pots and carvings of humans with dinosaurs in the same carving. I mean, why would you do that if it's not true? How come there's a dinosaur and a human together, carved, from the same burial site or from the same paleontology dig, paleontologist dig? Why would you have a dinosaur and a human? Unless the person that carved the human and the dinosaur saw them both. How could you even carve one if you hadn't seen one? Good question. Okay, enough suspense. Most common English word to describe terrible, powerful, wondrous lizards was dragon. That's right, dragon. Hmm. Let's go back and have a look at something I just showed you in the audience hall. Huh. Does that look like a dragon? That looks just like a dinosaur to me with wings, very much so. Now, if you go back and look at it again from the other angle I showed you, which I'm going to, at the risk of being redundant because I'm redundant on purpose, I want you to see that it is also shows a female from this angle right here. It looks like a female. There it is. This is very, I'm not going to enlarge it very much on purpose because I want you to be able to see it. Look, there's the eye, there's the mouth, nose, and see that what was the beard of Jesus becomes the hair of the female. See, and that's why, oh, that's why right here, right there, instead of having male genitalia, you have these lines that make female genitalia very surreptitiously hidden right in front of your face. So it's a female, and that's why there's a V right here on the crotch. There it is. Let's look at it. Let's view this full size. There you go, pixelation. The other angle shows that V, but you can see it right there. There it is, right there. This is absolutely mind-boggling what we're looking at. So they worship the Virgin, don't they? Well, can you imagine if you were to put your penis in this thing? That certainly would start a whole race of serpents. And if you were this sheep, well, then there would be part serpent, part sheep, wouldn't there? And if the sheep were the target and the victims because they were led to the slaughter, okay, because a serpent race that was created wanted energy, and the way to get it was making a host body system that's the forbidden fruit. And now they get enough energy to come out of the pit. And now you have a female dragon. There it is. That's female all the way. No doubt about it. So now let's go back. Okay, so we didn't even have the word dinosaur till 1841. And we know that they used to be called dragons. We know that the Bible calls the serpent the dragon. It's right there in Revelation 12. That old serpent, the dragon, was cast down. I think it's Revelation 12. The serpent, the dragon, the devil, they're all in the same sentence. You know what? Let's just look it up. I believe we should do this always. We should always vet everything. You know what? I'm going to go there right now, but while this is up, clues from Genesis to Revelations. Moses mentions plain seraphs. The good figurine of the seraph will cause miraculous healing of its beholder, and seraph and serpents. God lets these seraph serpents punish the people just as he let Satan punish Job. Numbers 21, 4 through 9 is a clue that Satan is a seraph. Satan is the serpent in Genesis 1, correct, and Revelation 12. There you go, verses 4, 7, and 9. Satan is a seraph serpent. There you go. And there is an image of a seraph serpent, and I cannot overemphasize this enough, made out of bronze. The statue is made out of bronze, which is by the definition, right here, a fiery flying serpent. The fruit shall be a fiery flying serpent. And it means burning, poisonous serpent, specifically a seraph or a symbolic creature. I'm going to change that to blue. from their copper color. I cannot stress that enough. From their copper color. Hence, therefore, a fiery flying serpent from their copper color. Do you understand? They literally modeled this thing. This thing is modeled after Isaiah 14. There it is. And here's the guy sitting in front of it with his Luciferian minions. It's been proven now. This should change the world forever. If anyone trusts the Pope or believes the Pope that he speaks to the Lord God, you better think again. He worships Satan. He worships Lucifer. You know, a lot of people, oh, Lucifer and Satan aren't the same. Lucifer before the fall, Satan after the fall, the accuser of the brethren. That's why in the Catholic Church they sing their little song to Lucifer. Okay? So it's interchangeable. Anyway, so there it is. So now that is proven. Well, let's go prove some more stuff that's really going to set this whole thing on fire. Okay, so watch this. So let's go to Mr. Barack Obama. Now, I told you the whole thing is a twin system. The whole thing, Cain and Abel, Cainable. One consumes the other. It makes a double U system. A good U and a bad U. 5 and 5, like 5 and 5. Put them together, W. 5 foolish, 5 wise virgins. I mean, hang on one sec, folks. Okay, so I've shown you that Marina Abramovic and all these Luciferians and Satanists and, devil worshippers, let's just call them devil worshippers. Okay, they worship the carnal, the flesh. They worship that. Okay, so what do they use? They use the letter W all the time. It's like their little pet number, their pet letter. They love using it because they know there's a double U. There's a good Johnny and a bad Johnny. I used to be at odds with myself. Then I got converted. Part of me got turned upside down. I was able to see the truth. And I was like, whoa. And then I knew the truth, and the truth set me free. I knew Jesus. Jesus is the truth. Okay, so let me show you something really amazing about Mr. Barack Obama and Miss Michelle Obama. And let me show you the trend, what's turning into this very bizarre trend. Okay, we know for sure that the Vatican, right there, the mouth of that Vatican right there, I've shown you repetitively, that mouth on the inside is a dead sheep. Okay, so again, the mouth of that serpent right there is this square window right here that's got this altar built into that square window right there. If I slide this over, there it is. And that whole thing is a dead sheep. It is not arguable. Okay, here's that same dead sheep. Okay, when we turn that dead sheep upside down, you know what? Let's just do it for kicks and grins. I will do it in front of you. Rotate 90 degrees counterclockwise. Because we're gonna solve this mystery completely. There's not gonna be anything left to this mystery when we're done. Then we're gonna turn that upside down. Okay, I turned that altar upside down right there. I did it right in front of you, and I'll slide that right on top. There it is. So now I've shown you that I turn the altar upside down, and this altar, when it's turned upside down, becomes the female reproductive system. There it is. No doubt about it. So the female reproductive system is the goal. That was the target. That's what the enemy wanted us to get involved in. That's how the enemy captured all God's angels. That's the reason that in these images right here, all God's angels right here are turning into semen running down the sides of this black penis, which is what injected the seed into the female reproductive system. There it is, the Prince of Darkness. So the Prince of Darkness, that represents his penis. The seed of the serpent went into the vagina of Eve. And that began the whole system. And the whole system is cannibalistic. And there is no doubt about it. Now it's been proven right in front of your face. Sorry, it switched to the bug. Okay, so now let's look at our common denominators. Common denominator, we have dead sheep all over the place. I can show you album after album after album of dead sheep. We have the female reproductive system, common denominator. When you turn the virgin upside down, when you turn the virgin upside down, here it is, it becomes a dead sheep. When you turn the dead sheep upside down, it becomes the female reproductive system. It is no longer arguable in any way, shape, or form. When you look at the altar from a distance, the wood part of the altar, hence that's why they say, oh, I've got a woody. They have that part of the altar right there turns into the male reproductive system, shooting the seed, which is a crown, into the system, and that's what crowned Satan's whole kingdom. That's why the entire building is a serpent wearing a crown. Now, let's get back to this guy. This guy that runs the whole show, his name's the Pope. He's the false prophet, and Barack Obama is the Antichrist. So there's the false prophet sitting in front of the fiery flying serpent coming up out of the pit. And that is definitely a female. It's a dragon. And it also, when you look at it from the other side, it is very obviously a dinosaur. Interesting enough, there was no word for dinosaur. The word dinosaur did not exist until 1841. So I will close this part with one more image so you can see how clearly and obviously this is. And yes, here I augmented the lines to make it very obvious. There it is. That is what we were breeding with. This is what we've been breeding with. Right there. That's it. That's the whole host body system is we've been breeding with. That's it. Now, let's look at where this goes. Okay, there's a guy named Barack Obama. There's a girl named Whoopi Goldberg, and they're on a program that's called The View. Let's hear very clearly what Whoopi says.
I ask you, what are we?
Okay,
Who are
she
we?
says, I ask you, what are we? Who are we? And Barack Obama says,
that way. But what is still true is that there's still kind of a reptilian side of our
Barack
brain.
Obama
Right?
says, well, what's still true is there's still part of, we have a reptilian part of our brain. Let's hear it one more time.
What is still true is that there's still kind of a reptilian side of our brain.
There's still kind of a reptilian part of our brain.
What is still true is that there's still kind of a reptilian side of our brain.
So Whoopi Goldberg just asked Barack Obama, who are we? What are we? Wow. It's like they're asking their king, hey, where's this go from here? What are we? Who are we? And he's telling everybody exactly what they are. He says exactly what you are.
What is still true is that there's still kind of a reptilian side of our brain.
Let's go look at that reptilian side of Obama's brain and everybody else's. Because the largest church in the world is really a reptile. And then in the mouth of the reptile is a dead sheep. And the sheep's fur is made up of a bunch of God's angels turning into sperm, going into that, we'll call it dimension, the female vagina in this altar. That's a dimension. That's called the flesh. They went into a dimension. So all these angels got cast into a new dimension called the flesh, and they're trapped in it, and they're in a transmutation device, which is called the human host body. Okay, but now let's look at what Obama said, and let's tie that to his imagery. Let's tie that to the reptilian side of his brain. Now, the Lord told me to redraw these images. I will be honest, I did not feel like doing it, but once I did it, I was very glad I did it. Okay, so Obama said, what's still true is we all have a reptilian part of our brain. Okay, there's a presidential portrait. There it is. Okay, why is half of this by the way, the whole thing's a serpent. Why is half of this thing a dead sheep? There's a sheep's eye. Here's a sheep's nose. There's the sheep's tongue sticking out. By the way, the tongue is a chrysanthemum. Do you know what the meaning of a chrysanthemum is? There's actually a specific meaning for it. It's a flower associated with death. I'll show it to you. I screenshotted it. So here's a dead sheep. There's a sheep's eye. Here's his ear right here. Here's his eye coming down his forehead. There's his nose. There's his tongue sticking out under the neck. And he's joined together right in the middle with a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Let me enlarge this. There you go. And I've drawn. Now, I don't know anybody else. I don't know anyone else has drawn in all these lines, but I have. I've taken the time to draw in every line the artist did. That, you know, when the Lord lets me see the image, I'm like, there it is, and I just draw on the lines, and there's the image. So here we go. So inside, I'm sorry. So as Obama's presidential portrait, the whole thing, the cumulative sum of the image is a snake with its tongue sticking out and fangs, but it's half one thing and half something else. Half of it's a sheep right here. There's the sheep. There's the eye. There's the nose. There's the chrysanthemum tongue. That means death. Here's the ear of the sheep. It's joined together in the middle. Here's a Tyrannosaurus Rex. There's the eye. There's the eyebrow. There's the eyebrow on the far side coming down to the nose. Here's the open mouth. Here the teeth are. Put a little white in there so you can see the teeth. There the teeth are. And now let's shrink it a little bit. And you'll go, oh my gosh. And then we're going to take a Tyrannosaurus Rex and just drag it right on top of this Tyrannosaurus Rex. Okay, so here's a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and we'll just drag it right on top right there. There you go. So why is Obama a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Tyrant Lizard King, does anybody know? What's coming out of the pit? What's coming out of the pit over here? What's coming out of the pit? A fiery flying serpent. Sure looks like a raptor type creature with wings. Huh. Let's go back to Obama. Okay. They hatch cockatrice eggs. Here's a picture of Obama, and I just threw caution to the wind. I said, I'm just going to draw it in with some bold lines. That's the serpent. There's the serpent's eye. There's the eye. Here's the eyebrow coming down to the nose. And there the two fangs are. Now I've drawn this again with very smooth little lines, but I wanted to accentuate. Now, if you look at Obama's, these lines right here on his face, all I got to do is box those in and go up, and that becomes a serpent's tongue. And you can really tell on this one right here. This one right here gives it away because of the 3D-ness of it. There it is. There's the tongue. There's the tongue. And it goes up right here, and it goes up right here, and it meets right here. So there's a serpent with fangs, and the fang of that serpent happens to be a sperm. And so the serpent's bite was a sperm. That was the bite of the serpent, was getting that sperm in the system. And Eve. And then Adam slept with Eve, and they had heteropaternal superfecundation twins. Now let me show you something really amazing. So here's half Tyrannosaurus Rex, and then here's half a dead sheep. Let me see if I can drag this down on here. It's a little big. Let's drag this down. There you go. So look, there's your T-Rex right there. No doubt about it. There it is. No doubt about it. So here's a T-Rex. And remember how they like the W? There's the W. There's the sheep and the reptile in one system. That's a W. And the cumulative sum of the whole thing is the serpent. Oh, wow. The serpent runs the W system. There it is. Okay, again. The serpent, the head of the serpent, the cumulative sum of the two images is a serpent. So that the serpent runs the half dead sheep, half Tyrannosaurus, lizard, whatever you want to call it, reptile system. And there it is, look, boom. So that's the serpent system. And it's a double use system. Uh, a sheep is dying and a reptile is growing. Whoa, wait a minute. That is amazing because that's identical to a hieroglyph of Akhenaten and Nefertiti that's 1,300 years before Christ. No way. So we have the same common denominator. But you know what's even crazier is back then, 1,300 years BC, we have a kid that the Pharaoh's holding, and the kid's head is an egg. That's really weird. Well, we're talking about a collective consciousness. Remember when Lady Gaga said, my performance at the Grammy Awards is about another race of beings being birthed within the human race. That's why she came out and got out of an egg, folks, because she, and we're going to get to this. There's so much more. Okay, so let me stay on task. So we're going to go back now to the hieroglyph. So let's go to the hieroglyph, see if I can find it. Okay, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to go back to the hieroglyph because I got the Obama folder open, but I need the hieroglyph folder. And we'll go right here. We'll open the hieroglyph, alien, and then we'll do as a subfolder of the alien folder. Here's the hieroglyph folder. And guys, I'm telling you, I did not feel like doing it, but the Lord told me to do it. So I did what he said. He told me to draw it in better. So this is what I had already drawn in for you guys. Look at the cumulative sum of this thing as a face. There's the eye, here's the nose, there's the top lip, there's a line between the lip. And again, I've shown you there's a break in the bottom lip right there because that's really a penis going in the female reproductive system again. And it's always in there. That's all. The cumulative sum is the female reproductive system, and there's a penis going inside of it. Now, let me show you an image from the Matrix. Here is a collective consciousness made out of all these little machine things. It's no different. It's the same type thing. So if I slide this over, it's the same thing. One big face made out of many parts. Okay, so now let's go down to the revised hieroglyph. Here you go. Here is the kid that's got a sheep in his head. Okay, there's a dead sheep. Wow, the largest altar in the world in the Catholic Church is a dead sheep. So here's a dead sheep that's 1,300 years BC. I'll reduce it in size a little bit. Try and drag it down here. There we go. Oops. So here's the sheep. There's the eye. There's the nostril, tongue sticking out. Bottom jaw right here, under the neck. Here's the ear of the sheep. And look at this weird little squiggly split tongue going to the nose of the kid. By the way, the Pharaoh's got that kid very close to his mouth, doesn't he? Well, let's do what Isaiah said. Let's turn him upside down. And let's go to the new imagery that the Lord had me draw in. I just wanted to use this one because I've got one that's right side up. Okay, so here we go. Okay, here we go. I'm sorry, guys. I'm looking for that one image. Here it is. So there it is. So now we turn it upside down and we see what's really going on. Okay, so there's the creature. That's your new daddy. That's the daddy you had before you got saved. That's your dad before you got saved. It's the creature that did the breeding that created his own host body system. And see the tongue coming out of his mouth? It's going straight to the nose of the kid. And the sheep is upside down and dead. There's the tongue sticking out of the sheep's mouth right there. And there's the open mouth of the creature. There's the tongue coming out. And he's stealing his breath. You know, he's taking his breath. Inhale, exhale. So he's taking this kid's breath. He's literally stealing his spirit. And so there's the eye, eye. Tongue, open mouth, wearing a red turban. I call it the creature. And he's eating his own kid is going in his mouth. Okay, well, let's put the puzzle together. And then we're going to end up back at Barack Obama again. Here, y'all aren't even going to believe how it all ties together. The whole thing ties together. There we go. Okay, so there's the creature eating his own kid. Here is the queen, right here. And right here is the queen. And when you turn the queen's upside down, it's a dead sheep. And I'll turn this upside down and show it to you in just a minute. But look what's right here. This the head of the kid, the entire head of the kid is the eye of this giant green reptile that's behind the kid. And then the serpent is coming up here, and the kid is going in the serpent's mouth, and the eye of the serpent is the womb of this little girl. And I know they're little girls because I've done my homework and I've read up on this hieroglyph. Those are their 3 daughters. And so here's the little girl's body. Her little girl's body becomes the head of the serpent. See? These are her legs. This is her leg. Serpent's eye is her crotch. And then this is the waist, above the waist. And this is her upper body, and this is her head. But her head is the eye of a giant reptile. And then we're going to get back to Michelle Obama in just a minute, too. It has to do with both of them. Well, let's turn this sheep upside down and see what this sheep becomes. Let's just turn the queen upside down. Let's turn her upside down and let's have a look. Okay, so I turned the queen upside down and I colored it in for you white. Well, there's your sheep. There's a sheep's eye. There's a teardrop coming out of the eye. There's the ear, top of the head, nose, tongue sticking out of the mouth. So there's a dead sheep. Again, let me ask you this question. How do you get a dead sheep from a hieroglyph that's 1,300 years before Christ and the Vatican, their largest altar, is a dead sheep? How does that happen? How? How do you do that? How is it that I'm able to walk into a Starbucks and go, that guy right over there is going to draw a picture of me, and when he does, he's going to put an image of a dead sheep on my face? How do you do that and get it right? And he did it. Because they're part of the system. Okay, now let's do the whole system. So Akhenaten is holding this kid really close to his face. Let's take a look at this intimate picture. Because when you look at this thing in the National Geographic, they try and say, what an intimate scene between father and son. There you go. So here's Akhenaten, and look right here. Look how close their faces are. Look at that. Okay, well, and the reason is because the head of the kid, you see that dark shadow right there? That's an egg. And we're going to go down here and we're going to look at it redrawn. Here we go. So here's the head of the kid. It's an egg. And then, sorry, there's the sheet, but it switched on me real quick. Here we go. There's the head of the kid. It's an egg. Well, here's a reptile, so we'll put the reptile in the egg. Okay, so there's a reptile. Let me enlarge the egg a little bit. There you go. There's a reptile in the egg. And now let's put the dead sheep in the egg as well. So I'll size it. There we go. I'll take the sheep with its tongue sticking out. There it is. There's the dead sheep in the egg. And that's what's in the kid's head. Bible says, cleanse your heart, you double-minded. Because you have a reptile and a sheep fighting for control. The sheep can't beat the reptile. There's no way. That's why you got to be born again of the Spirit. Because the flesh is death. Guaranteed death. The serpent runs it. So now I'm going to take the baby reptile, and I'm going to put him right there in the egg. Then I'm going to take the sheep, and I'm going to go like that. There it is. There's the whole system put together right in front of your face. Watch. There's the dead sheep. Bam. And the reptile together. My goodness. You know what that's identical to? That is identical to this, but now it's hatched. And there's the one it hatched to. Okay, so let me drag that over there. I'm going to take the hieroglyph and go over here. I'm going to take this image of a dead sheep. Okay, there's the dead sheep right there. Okay, there's the dead sheep and the reptile in the same egg, which is the head of the kid. Now I'm going to go show you what the grown up image is. Now he's grown up, and his name's Barack Hussein Obama. There it is, it's hatched. Dead sheep, reptile. Dead sheep, reptile. It's hatched. And that's why Michelle Obama now, let's go back and look at Michelle Obama. That's why Michelle Obama, now get ready for this and pay attention because this is huge news. Okay, Michelle Obama, Lord showed me that her portrait, that Michelle Obama's portrait was a serpent hatching from an egg. It was a miracle that I saw it. I was going to throw these pictures away that were on my bar, and the Lord told me no, leave them. And I'm like, why do you want me to leave them? Because he wanted me to see that Michelle Obama is a serpent. It's the serpent race hatching. There it is, right out of the egg. That's why she's wearing that big, ridiculous white dress. And there you go. Let me size it a little more. There you go. That's why. There you go. Michelle Obama is a serpent hatching out of a serpent's egg. There it is. Then the Lord told me, I want you to rotate it. He told me to rotate it the other direction. And I was like, whoa, it's an ostrich. The Lord showed me, yes, you are correct. It's an ostrich. See? It's an ostrich. Now, what's kind of interesting is if you look at an ostrich and you look at an ostrich's feathers, and I've looked at many, yes, they do have a white plumes right here on the side. And if you look at the general outline of the ostrich body, you've absolutely got it. But I was looking right here at the white, in the white right here, and I understand that the artist was trying to make everything blend together. But you know what? That's also an egg, isn't it? It sure is. Look at that. Let's just look right there. Is that an ostrich? And that's doubling as the white plumes on the feather as well as an egg. Because let me show you what the ostrich egg means in Egyptian theology, because it's kind of important. Ostrich eggs and its symbolic meaning in ancient Egyptian theology. Moreover, it was known that ancient Libyans offered the Egyptian pharaoh ostrich egg as kind of a tribute. Ostrich eggs were connected with the concept of prosperity life and the resurrection of the Christ in the Coptic Egyptian religion. Wow. So the ostrich egg represents the resurrection of their Christ. And let me show you who their Christ is, because this big lizard boy that's coming out of the pit right here, you see lizard guy, seraph, fiery, flying serpent. Okay, guess what? He's got an image of what's supposed to be Christ on his face. An antichrist. Oh, antichrist. And his name's Barack Hussein Obama. Been showing you guys all the data points. They're all perfect, and we're about ready to watch a trailer from the new Jurassic World in just a minute. But let's go through this. Okay, so we have an ostrich. What does the ostrich mean in Egyptian theology? Well, the ostrich egg means the resurrection of the Christ, and their Christ is something more like this. It's a reptile. Let's see. See? Christ and a reptile together. Now, Michelle Obama, no doubt about it. She's a serpent hatching out of an egg. Let's look at the meaning of an ostrich in Egyptian theology. Okay, let's see. It said, thus the pharaohs of Egypt saw their cosmic role to uphold the principles of Ma'at, and it was due to Ma'at that the pharaohs and the authority had the authority to rule the land. Imhotep stated that Ma'at was placed upon his breast by Amun himself. Akhenaten, the heretic king, who was accused of deviating from her laws by his successors, repeatedly emphasized his adherence to Ma'at on many of his monuments. When the dead were judged, it was a feather of Ma'at that their hearts were weighed against. Now, let me just show you, like, let's just do this for fun. Images. Let's see. M-A. Mott. Okay. Okay, so the Mott goddess in feather judgment. Here it is, right here. They would put them on scales. They would put your heart on a scale, right there, and they would weigh your heart against the feather of the ostrich. And if it didn't pass, you got fed to a giant crocodile that was waiting to eat your heart. A giant reptile got to eat your heart if you didn't pass the test. So there it is. Okay, and for some strange reason, Michelle Obama is an ostrich in her first lady portrait. No doubt about it. That's definitely an ostrich. There it is. Just look at the rudimentary shape. And there's the egg, represents the resurrection of the Christ. Barack Obama, no doubt about it. He's the serpent from the garden. There's the eye, there's the fangs. And there's a sperm on his face, and there's a serpent eating a smaller sperm. No doubt about it. The ostrich egg represents the resurrection of the Christ. Here is the Queen of Heaven, the Statue of Liberty, holding a penis in her hand. There it is. See the penis right there in her hand. And she's waiting for the sun to come up, which is a representation of the angel of the bottomless pit, Apollyon, rising up out of the pit. All this stuff is completely connected. Would you like to tie it together to the new fallen world? Would you like to tie it together to the new trailer for Fallen World? Okay. This is the trailer for Fallen World. Now, I don't want to go to codec violation, so I'm just going to show you an image. Here's this Tyrannosaurus Rex, and here's, very conveniently, a circle that looks like maybe a female egg with a guy and a girl that are in it, conspicuously right in front of this tree. That wouldn't be like the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, would it? And then here's a giant Tyrannosaurus Rex, basically staking his claim, and this guy represents odd man out. Anyway, so let me show you a really odd scene. They say on this, welcome to Jurassic World. Now I want to show you something that's just like a Maserati commercial I showed you.
Welcome to Jurassic World.
I really didn't want to get that in there, but let's see. Let me see if I can slow this down. Speed, slow. Okay, look at the shadow going over the little girl. Now this is all done. All done. Okay, now look. This is all done with the director. Every single thing in the room. Watch. Okay, you see the veil right here? I see a tree on the wall right here, and I see a sconce lighting it up. Butterflies. There's a tree on the wall over here with a sconce. Oh, there's one tree here, and there's another tree here. My, that's awfully convenient. Two different trees. A tree of the knowledge of good and evil, maybe. Wow, that's weird. There's two different trees. I've never seen wallpaper that's got like a whole tree on it. Never. Never in my life. Okay, here's a veil. Oh, what's coming up from behind the veil? Let's see. Okay, now check this out. Here comes a raptor. Now here's a little girl. Now let me show you something. There's butterflies hatching on her headboard. There's two trees on the wall that have butterflies hatching. Look at this thing that looks like a pupa and she's coming out and like she's exposed. And look what's on the end of her bed. I mean, let's just look at that. What is that? I know what that is. Let me show you what that is. You see what that is? This is a sheepskin right here. That's a sheepskin behind me. And let's look at what's on that little girl's bed. Oh, look, it's a sheepskin. What's this down here? This is not normal. This is superimposed. Do you see the face? There's the eye, there's the nose, there's the mouth. Is that a tongue sticking out? Is that an ear? Did they superimpose a sheep right here? Is there a sheepskin here? There is a sheepskin here. Look at this comforter, the gold comforter. Does that look like a pupa that just hatched? It's just so ridiculous. And when you look at this whole scene and you watch it closely, which unfortunately I can't because I don't want to get a codec violation. When you look at the whole scene and you realize what's in it, and you realize that the very beginning, it shows the eye open up. It starts, the eye is closed, and then the eye opens up. Then the eye opens up. Uh-oh. What's this on the eye of the T-Rex as it opens up? That's a DNA panel. They used part of a DNA panel. I wonder what that's supposed to be the reflection of in the container he's in. So it opens up, it's a DNA panel, and then let me show you the next thing that happens. It breaks its chain. The chain breaks. There you go. The chain breaks. And then all of a sudden, the creature gets out of its cage. That's what happens. And then it comes and wants to stake its claim to this really nifty looking ball thing right in front of this conveniently placed little tree here. And it just so happens that Barack Obama happens to be, just happens to be, a Tyrannosaurus Rex. There you go. And Barack Obama happens to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex and half dead sheep. And the full thing is a serpent. Everything lines up. Everything. All of it. There's, do y'all know the name of the new Jurassic Park movie? Name of new Jurassic Park movie. It's called Fallen World, Fallen Kingdom. There you go. Fallen kingdom. There you go. Now I know I've jumped around a little bit, but I've got so many data points that it's, I mean, there's still more. You know the Scion Little Deviants commercial right here? Let me show you something.
From the depths to take those sheeple down.
Here come the little deviants. They're coming from the depths to take the sheeple down. The sheeple are compliant and make for fine ingredients. Let me show you something that's the same here as the Sistine Chapel. Okay, there you go. The sheeple just jumped out of his skin. Now look at that. So the little deviant that came from underground is putting on his skin. I like the way the hand makes a serpent's head. And he puts, okay, so the sheeple are compliant.
The sheeple are compliant and
So
make
the
for
sheeple
fine
are compliant and
ingredients
make for fine ingredients for customizing anything. Here come the little deviants. Well, isn't that convenient? Because right here in the Sistine Chapel, where Lucifer is coming through the archway with the Virgin, here is one of Lucifer's guys, and he's holding a human suit, a suit of skin, like the little deviants. There you go. I mean, you got to be kidding, right? He's holding a suit of human skin because we are surrounded by this. It's everywhere. Once you wake up to it, you'll see that it's right in front of you on TV. Is an unbelievably.
With so many mattresses out there,
they say the future belongs to those who make it. And that's why
The
some of us
future
just
belongs
can't
to
stop thinking
those
about
who
tomorrow.
make it. That's why we just can't stop thinking about tomorrow. What's with the T-Rex? What's with the T-Rex? Why is the T-Rex so prolific in everything I'm doing? Why is Obama a T-Rex? Why is there a baby T-Rex and a dead sheep and a hieroglyph that's 1,300 years old? Why are there a kid's legs sticking out of the mouth of a serpent right here in the hieroglyph? And if I drag this right down to here, I'll drag it from over here. There you go. There you go. So, see, the serpent has a kid's legs hanging out of the mouth. It just depends on your ability to see it. Now, how come we have an alien that's inside Akhenaten, like maybe an Akash, huh? Maybe that's an Akash. And he's got his penis going into this girl that I colored pink. And there's your alien, and his head and his neck turns to a scrotum and a penis. He's inseminating this girl, and this kid is a representation of this insemination. And there's the girl's eye, there's her blonde hair, there's her mouth. There she is being penetrated, and she's on her knees. And here I've taken the sheep and made it just very rudimentary. It's yellow with a pink tongue. I left the eye white. There's the dead sheep. And so here's the whole thing from 1,300 years BC, again and again and again. And so now I'll show you the baby reptile instead of the sheep. There you go. So there's the baby reptile that's in the head of the kid, and there's a dead sheep. So there's a reptile and a sheep, and it is the offspring of this thing putting his penis inside of her. And here's the offspring. There it is. And now that offspring looks like it's full grown. And there he is. There's the full grown offspring. Right There you go. There's Mr. Full-grown offspring. Risen up out of the pit. See, that's his resurrection. He's risen up out of the pit. He's Apollyon from the pit. There you go. So that's who Barack Obama is. He will take on his full power, I'm sure, as soon as that pit opens up all the way. And then everybody on the earth is either going to worship the image of the beast and take the mark of the beast, or they're going to be put to death. And just for clarification, there's a band called the Scorpions who I used to really like. And after looking at all their album covers, it's all about females having tails like scorpions, which fits right in with the Catholic narrative. They worship the Virgin, and they happen to have a giant dragon-like seraphim coming out that's got a vagina coming out of the pit. And what's really just bizarre is the Scorpions did an album cover called Moment of Glory. Wow, look at that. Moment of Glory. There it is. See, and it's a Tyrannosaurus wearing jewels like a queen. And their real moment of glory is when that thing does come out of the pit. And what I mean is, whatever that thing was, that thing is coming back. Whether or not it's just the spirit of it occupying a host body, who knows? Maybe you might get to see that may be the image of the beast that was and is not and is yet to come. Who knows? But there it is, Moment of Glory. Why would you do an album cover if you're a band called the Scorpions, which means the scorpions in the pit? Why would you do an album cover called The Moment of Glory with a Tyrannosaurus on it? Here's another question. If you have this scene right here from the new Jurassic World, Fallen World, and you have the creature coming out from behind the veil. See, it came right out from behind the veil. There it is, coming out from behind the veil. Why would they have a Maserati commercial with the little girl saying this? They lift their helmet.
Then we walk out of the shadows.
Oh, wow. So here's a
Quietly
girl
walk
coming
out
out
of the
from
dark.
behind. There's a girl in the Maserati commercial coming out from behind the veil. Wow. Just like the raptor. That's creepy.
And strike. Out of the dark. We walk out of the
From
shadows.
behind the veil.
Quietly walk out of the dark.
Okay, so they're getting ready for their
And
thing.
strike.
And I'll tell you what. What's the difference? Here's this raptor coming up from behind the veil, the same as the Maserati commercial. I mean, there's just no arguing this. It is what it is. There you go. Female
Quietly
was
walk.
warrior number 1 used against God's angels. That was the number 1 female host body. That was it. That's why they worship the Virgin. Anyway, my brain is shot. That's unbelievable. So, yeah. In summary, there's so much information. I literally have too much information, and it all connects. All the data points connect. Same thing from a hieroglyph. That's from Guatemala. There's another sheep, female reproductive system. Same exact thing. There's the devil superimposed over the sheep. Same exact thing as the Catholic Church. How is it that a pyramid from Guatemala, when you turn this king upside down, how come when you turn this king upside down, how come he becomes a dead sheep with a devil superimposed over the sheep. There's the king. How you think this is some ridiculous headdress he's wearing? Like there's the king's eye in his mouth. If we turn it upside down, then what it really is becomes evident. Isaiah said, those who try and hide their plans, they turn everything upside down. It becomes a devil with wings. It's a male penis. It's also the female reproductive system. And if I take it and I drag it right over here, it's superimposed right on the face of the sheep. There it is. So it's always the same thing. That's how you know that's how you know you've solved it, because it always points back to itself every single time. Lizard, dead sheep. Reptile, dead sheep. Queen, turn the queen upside down, dead sheep. It's always the same. Altar of St. Peter's, dead sheep. Human in a slave collar, right here. Human in a slave collar, turn it upside down, locust from the pit. It always adds up. There's a really nice drawing that's just the clear plastic drawing. That is simply the clear plastic drawing from the presidential portrait. That is a piece of plastic I put over the portrait and I just traced in the lines. There it is. Now that I got all this off my chest, yeah, it's overwhelming, folks. I'm sorry I'm talking really like, I just want to get it out. This is too burdensome for a human being to carry. I've been carrying this around for 2 days and it's literally made me physically ill. I'm just been like, I've had to draw all these things in repetitively over and over and over again to make sure they're exactly correct. Look at that. Tyrannosaurus Rex, dead sheep. You know, I've populated these folders for you guys. I will give you access to all my material. Everything I've done is for everybody and it's free to disseminate. You may give this to Before It's News. Before It's News, you know, y'all should go to Before It's News and give them my folders. I mean, give them the folders. This stuff is just gonzo. I mean, this is bust. This is the bust of busts. You once you start getting the Pope sitting in the mouth of a big serpent. There he is. You know what? Watch this. Let's do this. Let's make that serpent mouth really big. Then we'll drag this guy over here. Look. There he is. That's where he sits. He sits right between the fangs. And that big gnarly sculpture is right here between the fangs of the serpent. And then that's what's on it. And that's what the Pope sits in front of, is a flying fiery serpent coming out of the pit. And it's a female. It's just insane. Bam. All right, folks, my brain is completely and utterly shot. I want to thank everybody that's helped support the ministry. Y'all have no idea. It's just to do this without y'all's help, I'd freak out. We're not, by the way, y'all know we're not monetized, right? The Lord told me I could not monetize one thing. I've had people offer to have me write books, and I've said I can't. Co-author books, I can't. I'm not allowed to align myself with any other ministry. The Lord told me you may not. You have to stand alone. So, okay, but look at the amount of data he's pushed through this ministry. We are not monetized. We do not sell anything. Nothing is for sale. The Lord told me, as you freely received, freely give. All my data is yours. You may have all of it, every bit of it. But here's your warning. There are people, and I will mention, like the Groxt, who has taken what the Lord gave as a pure gift and adulterated it, he will be held accountable for that. If you take this information and you put your own spin on it, then you get to deal with the one that delivered it to me. Okay? This is a gift for everybody. It's not something for you to put your own spin on. Understood? Be very careful. There's other people, like I said, that have drawn Donald Trump into the hieroglyph, drawn clowns into the hieroglyph, and literally said something as ridiculous as, "Oh, well, there's the Joker, like the Batman movie, and everybody knows that Satan is a Joker." I was completely and utterly embarrassed and appalled. So, yes, if you take this data, just show people the images. Do not try and put your own spin on it. Okay, that's it. I'm saying that as a warning for your own safety, because to go and do that would be just you'd have to be nuts. I mean, I fear the Lord, guys. I fear the Lord. I love God, but man, you don't want to have the wrong heart towards the Lord God and take something that he delivered as a gift and go make yourself something out of it or with it. That's crazy. That's nuts. Anyway, there it is. Now, as a last thing, anybody that wants to support the channel, all we do is donations. We don't do nothing's for sale. We also give away DVDs. We still have DVDs left. We haven't done a DVD thing in a while. Yep, here we go. Let me go to, but we still have them available. Some of the older ones are still available too. But if you want to see a really good video, you should watch You Are Exiles. It explains it. But here, if you want to help us, you can go to jk@jonathankleck.com. You can PayPal us there. Again, I'm going to say this. Please don't ever support the ministry if it's going to put you in any kind of a bind. Don't say, "Oh, well, I need to help you out." We always have what we need. God makes sure we always have what we need. I don't know if we're going to be here another day or another week or another month. I don't know, but I know the end's come. That's it. The end has come. When you start seeing all this stuff revealed, you start seeing all this, the Vatican's a big snake. The mouth of the snake is a vagina. Really? That's like, guys, the end's come. When you see what's going on in politics, when you see Hillary Clinton, Mueller, and Comey, and McCabe, and Rosenstein, and all these total liars going after, Trump, and I'm not some Trump fan, but when you see the liars going after the one that's trying to expose the liars, the country's in big trouble. Okay? So, anyway, woohoo! Lots of data, huh? Next time I'll do it real slow and make a really short video. I just want to get this stuff off me, man. It's too much. I mean, it's literally too much. My brain is like, ah! I mean, it's overwhelming, right? I mean, look at that. That's just messed up. But what's so cool is it's tied to a fiery flying serpent. There you go. All right, time's coming, guys. God bless. Anyway, I'm out.